Hey everyone, welcome back to Nature News. I'm Alice Ford, and this is your weekly rundown of science, nature, and environmental news for the week of May 29th. I wanted to start this conversation with a few updates on Indigenous communities. Now, the coronavirus has done a great job at showing the injustices we have here in America, and one of them is the injustices that Indigenous communities face. The Navajo Nation has the highest known rate of coronavirus in the country, and one of the reasons behind that is a profound lack of access to clean water. Like many other Indigenous communities, the Navajo Nation in large part lacks basic resources like electricity, clean and running water, internet, and even roads. To put it in perspective, the average American uses 88 gallons of water a day, but much of the Navajo Nation just gets 2 to 3 gallons, and that's for eating, cooking, and cleaning. Now, you might be wondering, why don't they have wells? Well, some of these communities do, but they've been tainted by uranium mining or oil, gas, and resource mining, and so they rely on a limited amount of purchased water. And one of the other sticking points is that tribal governments are actually excluded from federal and state water projects, so they really have little access to any sort of water that you or I would have. And this is just part of this process of colonialism that we've had in this country that have been keeping Native Americans in poverty for so long. That being said, they're really having a hard time staying safe with little access to clean water, and that's why coronavirus is running rampant. Now, speaking of communities, as we know, one of the things that's super important to our health is actually where we live. A new study actually links that wind can make harmful pollutants like PFAS travel as far as 7 miles outside of the manufacturing place that they came from. Now, PFAS have been linked to a variety of health problems, including cancer and high cholesterol. It's been shown time and time again that living in proximity to a factory or industrial plant is bad for your body, your brain, your health, and especially bad for children. But now we know that this extends to an even wider area, which is why we need legislation that pushes for buffer zones between where factories can be built and where people can live. Now, something else we do in our daily lives is eat. And right now there is a lot of waste coming out of our homes. 1/3 of all the food produced actually goes to waste, which is pretty staggering when you think about how many people also go hungry every day. Now, food waste accounts for 8% of global greenhouse emissions. And much of this waste starts with how we make our purchases, but ends with what we actually end up eating and throwing away. So if you start thinking about the life cycle of the food you buy and how far away it came from, you might think twice before letting it end up in the trash. And a quick tip for that is to make a list of meals instead of just items so you know what you're going to use. Another food industry is commercial fishing. And here in the US, fishing communities and environmentalists are reeling, no pun intended, after an executive order from President Trump initiated a process to open federal waters to industrial fish farms. And this might not seem like a big deal, but it would actually sideline all of the small fishermen and communities that rely on fishing, because commercial conglomerates would come in and take away their business and lower the price. Not to mention, environmentalists say that farmed fish actually produces concentrated pollution, and it would risk devastating wild populations of fish should they accidentally get turned loose in open waters. So let's move from fish to farm animals. As we know, fracking has been widely tied to tainted water and human and animal sicknesses, and now it's also been linked to a rare birth defect in horses. This serves as a warning about fracking and human infant health. Now, the farm where this study took place had 28 fracking wells within 7 miles of the farm and 2 within 15 feet of 2 of their wells. It basically caused baby horses to not be able to nurse. But there is some better news. Some sea turtle populations are slowly climbing in locations across the world, a success attributed to conservation programs, fisheries management, and new laws. And lastly, for all the fossil nerds out there, archaeologists found the bones of more than 60 mammoths at a construction site for a new airport outside Mexico City. These were a subspecies of the Columbian mammoth, which were actually bigger than modern-day elephants. And with those bones, they actually found 15 pre-Hispanic people with their pots and other crafts, and they plan to be displayed in a museum. Pretty cool. If you need something interesting to read this week and you happen to be a foodie, you might like the book Vegetables Unleashed, which is by famous chef Jose Andre. Now, this book is on incorporating more veggies into our diet and tackling the environmental impact of what we eat. That's all I have for you this week. Don't forget to leave me your questions or comments down below. And don't forget to share and like this video. I'll see you next week.